Grand Rising, Mi5, looking really big right now. My people, my family, my tribe, how is it going? Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Mi5 Show. Today, I have a super special guest, and I'm just like hell, I'm just very excited because we haven't ever had a guest who has made a documentary. Yes, that is right. Our guest tonight, Mrs. Stormy May, has dedicated a pretty good portion of her life to educating individuals on the true spiritual nature of horses and just other animals, and teaching us how we can, develop a much deeper connection to animals that we work with, and also educating people on, some of the truths about riding horses. And one of the ways that she has done that is quite a while ago, she made a documentary which now has millions and millions of views on YouTube. And, people have, of course, bought DVDs and all that. So, Miss Stormy May, how's it going? It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me here. What a great introduction.
Yeah, I just, want to make sure everyone knows like a little bit about, some of the things that you've done, because a lot of times when we have this show, it's people that are brand new to the community. Sometimes we have people that are a part of the MI5 community and that people are pretty well versed on, knowing them personally. But, you know, a lot of times when we have some of the people that are a little bit more, they've the in the more educational space, I just want to make sure everyone knows what kind of sauce you're bringing to the table. So, in the light of that, the introduction that I gave is nowhere close to everything that you've done. I'd love if you can give us kind of like a mini autobiography of yourself and kind of what led you down this path.
Sure. It really was just that, the horse crazy girl in school. That was
Yeah.
me times 100, and I never grew out of it. That's why my name is Stormy. Um, and so I followed the traditional path. I was a rider and a trainer, and very early on, just kept getting promoted into a judge and a uh, instructor. All sorts of things. But I was really in it because I loved horses. I love horses, and um, I started noticing that some of the horses didn't weren't happy with what I was doing with them.
Hmm.
You get a horse to be a competition horse, and then the horse doesn't even want to be ridden. What do you do? And at that time, it's get stronger or send them to somebody else who's going to get stronger. Meaning hit them, kick them, pull them with a
Right.
big bit, just physically force them. And I suspected there was something different. It really wasn't out there anywhere around me, but there were books I read. And so that's where the documentary came into being. Is I thought, here's my short list of the people that look like they know this secret of having a willing partnership with these ginormous animals that,
Yeah.
if you want them to do something, you can't just, pull them on a leash like you can with a dog. You have to get their agreement. So luckily, not only went and visited these people, I brought a camera, and that was the idea, is make a documentary about it. What I didn't realize was that it was going to change everything about how I saw horses, how I interacted with them. It was really that journey that I made mostly in 2006, that showed me that the horses were right. They were saying, "Hey, we don't want to be doing this. This isn't cool. This is not what we're here for." And that's really hard to hear if your life is a trainer.
Hmm.
I
Yep.
expected there to be some magical way that they would willingly want to do what I wanted them to do. So it turned my world upside down when I realized, well, they actually didn't wanna do it, so then I had to change myself. How could I still follow this love of horses and being with them and caring for them and supporting them without exploiting them? And I mean, it's the best thing ever because then I stepped out of that whole exploitive world myself. I was being exploited just as much as they were, and, found this harmony that is what they are really good at. They're good at finding peace in so many situations. They have that connection to nature that we've lost. So, now it seems like a no-brainer, of course, I'm not gonna force the horses to be who they aren't, and I'm not gonna force myself to be who I'm not.
Mhm.
But it's a hard sell, the horse industry is huge, and people don't understand, well, why would you have horses if you're not gonna ride them? So I do a lot of coaching online. Basically, people who wanna have better relationships with their horses, I can teach them how to hear them, how to listen to them. Um, and right now I'm working on creating more physical opportunities for people to come out and experience this way of being with horses because until you meet a horse that's been treated this way, and I would say empowered this way, listened to, you don't really know what horses are. You know learned helplessness, shut down,
Hmm.
um, yeah, there's just all sorts of ways that we manipulate them, some softer, some harsher, but to take that off the table and just have this beautiful connection honoring who they are, it just feels so much better, and I'm blessed and grateful that I get to spend my days showing people what that's about.
Yeah, no, and it's really awesome to kind of see that journey in the documentary, which if you guys want to check it out, that is the name of the documentary. That's all you need to search. It's the first thing that pops up. Like I said, millions of views on YouTube and in multiple languages as well. So yeah, no, I mean, I watched the documentary a couple weeks back, and we were just talking about this, before we went live. I'm gonna watch it again because I've been learning some new things that would probably shed a little bit more light and understanding on just kind of like, maybe reading in between the lines on certain things because there's a lot of pretty, I'd say, esoteric, things that if you are not privy to the world of spirituality already before watching the documentary, some of it might just go right over your head. So definitely check it out, guys. It's tremendous. It's about only like an hour long, and it's super good. So, one of the questions that I have that is kind of talked about in the documentary, um, but I wanted to kind of go deeper into it on here. How did you first develop your interest with the spiritual nature of horses? And is there like a specific moment, like a story that you have where you realized, something was off and, it just really instantly sparked your passion, for what you do?
It was really the struggle. 2 particular horses, 2 mares came into my life, and they didn't wanna be ridden, just to put it
Mm,
simply. And I was faced with get stronger or send them to somebody else who's gonna get stronger. So that it was that struggle. That was the moment or the many moments. One of the horses, man, I fought with her for 11 years. I'm not proud of it, but, she was supposed to be my Olympic dressage horse, and
yeah.
I thought if I just found the thing that it would work. And then the other one is actually that horse that's behind me in the painting. I still have her.
Oh,
She's
nice.
she'll be 20 this year. And she was like, "You will not do that to me." So I mean, everybody has a different idea of what spirituality means, but I think on a very practical level, it was, what kind of human am I? The story is, well, if you can't be ridden, you're telling the horse, if you can't be ridden, then you're gonna go be dog food. I can't. You're not gonna get a good home if you can't be ridden. And, you know, i it's just a story. So, if I wanna be that kind of person that if I can't exploit you, if I can't ride you, if I can't force you to do something that you obviously don't wanna do, am I gonna sell you? And actually that one behind me, she was sent to me by a client to be trained and sold as a kid's pony, and I ended up buying her myself, which was probably stupid, but there was no other place that I could imagine for her, and, that was when she was 3, and so she's still teaching me to this day. She's just n no words. She's like just another being similar to maybe like you'd have a relationship with a dog, but they live, like, over twice as long, and
Yeah.
they're bigger than we are, so there's a different kind of working it out. So the spirituality aspect came in when I was examining who do I wanna be. It was clear that this was manipulation. Is it the ends justify the means? Is what I have to do to get there worth it? Or is there something else? So that's where I took off around the world and said, "Okay, show me something else, because this is not who I wanna be." I was dying inside.
Yeah. I mean, there really is like a certain frequency when you start to, you know, when you become disaligned with the true nature of your soul, like it's if you don't know what it is, like it can be a very, disheartening thing. Like if you don't understand, and once you kind of like start to get it and start to wrap your head around the fact that we really truly are spiritual beings, like it all starts to make sense. That when your thoughts, feelings, and actions aren't in alignment, it just feels off. Like it doesn't really feel good. And I think that everyone goes through a period of that. That's kind of just like a given part of, maybe not like, honestly, yeah, like being, fully allowing spirituality and getting closer to enlightenment is kind of like going through those ups and downs. So, huge props to you for actually like not giving into the more human aspect of it and like just being like, oh well, I need to make money this way. Like it's, I have a huge career in this. Screw that. So one of the things I wanted to ask is kind of around that is like, a lot of people might argue that horse riding is this like traditional and time honored practice that's been enjoyed by humans for centuries, right? Who would you say, or what would you say to those that view it as that traditional part of human culture and like just don't think that it should be given up?
I've really learned to choose my battles.
Yeah.
I mean, usually people come to me when they have a horse and they realize, "Oh, there's something messed up here." So they're already kind of turned the page and said, "Okay, like I was, show me something different because this isn't working."
Hmm.
If somebody, is on the rodeo circuit and doing their thing, just let them do it.
Yeah.
I can't go against that. But I can offer it's really like I offer an alternative. Like if that's not working for you, I have something else. I could show you other things that really highlight the joy on the journey with the horse. So it's not as it's not important at all what you end up as, because every day you're enjoying your time with the horse. You're getting into that peaceful, harmonious, connected state between you and the horse or the herd of horses, which is what we need anyway. We don't need to dominate and control more. We got that. We're good at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have what the horses we need what the horses have, which is that ability to work it out in a herd, that ability to I mean, they live outside at night. How many of us can just walk around at night and feel completely at ease? There's a
Hmm.
lot of things that they are still naturally connected to, even more so than dogs, because dogs are living with us in the house. We can't usually, we don't have the horse in the house. We have to go out into their environment. So even just that, if you live where there's snow, you're going to be breaking ice on the water troughs. You're going out there 365 days a year, whether you feel like it or not. So just enjoying the journey and finding that peace and that joy each day, and then you look back and it's been a week and you had a great week. And then you look back and it's been a month and you had a great month. And then,
Hmm.
maybe something horrible happens and your horse dies, but you had such a great time. It wasn't like, "Oh, I'm doing all this training and I'm going to these shows that are stressful in hopes that I'll achieve this thing, and when I get this thing," I had done enough of that to know that the next thing wasn't where the happiness was. I was going up the ranks, I had all the different horses, looking for the right one to win this or win that, and it's yeah, I mean, there's so many metaphors between our everyday lives, whether or not we have horses.
Mhm.
Are we looking for the next job? Are we looking for the next, uh, house, the next partner, the next car? Is that gonna do it for us? And that's where we go off course, because if we're not enjoying today, we're not gonna enjoy tomorrow, and if we're enjoying today, whatever tomorrow brings, that'll be good too. So
Yeah.
that's really where the crossover is. I entered it through my my path with the horses, but everybody has that opportunity to enter it with whatever they're thinking is gonna be the thing that's gonna do it for them. So that's where I got into mindfulness and meditation, and, that really highlights the life that is happening right now. John Lennon said, "Life is what happens when we're making other plans."
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
let's enjoy the life because it's here now. It's really the only place we can be happy is here. The only
Mhm.
place we can be connected, the only place we can be inspired is here. So if we don't have ways to enter that right now, right now, right now, right now, it's it's not out there. It's not anywhere else. It's not after you even get the good meal. It's before that. It's this moment.
Yeah, and that's something that I've been saying a lot, lately, and sometimes I forget to practice it myself. It's like, dude, the best moment ever that you could ever have is right now because this is the only moment in time that you actually have the opportunity to change your situation if that's really what you want to do or just to make something better out of it. So, and what you said about changing people's minds and stuff like that, it's like you truly can't if they're just not ready to hear, if they're not in a receiving mode for that. Because if this guy's like winning his rodeo matches and everything and you're over here saying, well, that's bad for the horses, and so you're just going to be like draining your own energy doing that because he's just not, it's going to be like you're talking to a wall.
Right.
um, I think some people with given the right communication, might be more open to it. If something, it might strike a chord. What you're saying, might strike a chord, and they could have this very sudden switch, kind of like how you did. But it's just like, do you even want to? You got to protect your own energy. It's like, is that even worth it?
That's what the path of the horse does magically well. I mean, people either get it right away, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you for saying this," or sometimes it's 5, 6, 10 years later, they're like, I saw that movie. I wasn't ready for it then, but now I get it." So something like that, and that's why I'm just so happy that I made the documentary because I'm not in anybody's face. It's there. They can watch it.
Hmm.
And when they're ready for it, they're in their own home. The most frequent comment I get is how much a person cried when they were watching it, which I think is in a good way,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a releasing way. But it really moves people. And I've written a book too, but it's more intellectual. The movie really, when you zoom in and see the abuses that are going on, and it's not horrible abuses, it's the everyday abuses that you can see in a show ring anyway.
Hmm.
You we so often don't see it because the equine industry is perpetuating this idea of the horses as these happy athletes, which the deeper you get into it, the more you see they're not happy athletes. You wouldn't need a bridle and a bit, and you wouldn't need all this training if they loved what they were doing. So
Yeah.
there is another way, and there is a way that feels better for most people who get on that path. But if somebody's not ready for it, that's okay. I'm not gonna. spend my energy worrying about it.
Yeah, and honestly, it really doesn't surprise me when you say that a lot of the response that you get from the documentary is people, crying and just like having this moment of release because like just like how we can have a deep, of course, a deep connection to, our loved ones that are in human form, right? It's like we have that exact same connection with horses just because they're in a different, arrangement of particles doesn't mean they don't have souls, right? I could exit my body as a soul and into like become a horse and still be myself. I'd still have my soul. I'd still have this divine personality. And so it's like, of course people are like that. And it's like you wouldn't, go to, hang out with your horse and have a deeper connection with them inside your house. Like you honor them by going into their space. And like the fact that like people do that but still like may have this spiritual connection to their horse and are still like okay with you know doing all the things that are associated with just like training and everything like that, and maybe not like maybe not letting their ego down to actually notice it and make a change. I think something like the documentary is absolutely essential. And it's only going to get people on. Brian and I and Eric and everyone in MI5, we talk about this a lot. There's a massive shift and awakening that's happening. A lot of people are starting to wake up to spirituality and wake up to, metaphysics and just like how energy moves and spirituality in general. And it's not like that's a new thing, but because of social media and because of the way the information is shared, it's like it's just it's growing at such a crazy exponential rate. And as we know, like compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, right? And so like the more that people know about this, it's like this massive domino effect. And I think it's gonna, it's eventually gonna just change the whole game. I feel like maybe it might be soon and it might be in 10 years or 20 years, but I feel like at some point there'll be more people that are on the side of, you know, uh, honoring animal spirituality than, taking advantage of animals in a way that's like profitable.
I see it already. We were watching some of the first Price is Right videos on YouTube,
Yeah.
and it's like the luxurious fur that you're gonna win. You don't see furs being prizes
No.
on Price is Right anymore. So that really struck me like, wow, that's not that long ago, and now it would be unconscionable to be
Yeah.
selling mink furs on TV.
Yeah. They get canceled for that one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot of hope. I think the tides will change, and but it doesn't have to. I'm enjoying the moments now, and I see a very more compassionate future. It seems like we really are moving that way, despite the struggles in the moment. I think overall our society is moving towards more compassion and more empathy, which just is a natural um, spiritual evolution of a human. It's emotional maturity. Do I take care of my own needs, or do I need to exploit others to have those needs met?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. We're coming up closer on our commercial break here. But the last question that I want to really dive deeper into is, what advice would you give to someone who's just beginning to explore their own, spirituality and maybe wants to deepen their connection with animals in particular? Are there any particular practices that you might recommend or specific resources outside of the documentary that you recommend to people that are more interested in like, you know, kind of making this, putting this at the forefront of their thoughts?
Boy, at the same time as I was making the documentary, I also had a coach, a guide, a guru, whatever you want to call it, and it really took that element is crucial.
Hmm.
You get so far on your own, but you need to have somebody that you can have a conversation with who's going to call you on your BS, who has become more of the person that you wanna be. So finding somebody like that, not just reading a book, not just watching a movie, but really having somebody that you can have a conversation like this with is so critical. So, there's infinite offerings out there of people who might look like coaches or teachers or gurus or whatever they might look like, but they're further along the path, and they know you personally enough to have a back and forth conversation and, a little bit about what's going on in your life, where you're getting stuck. Because what really needs to happen is we need to rewire our brains. It really comes down to
Mhm.
neuroscience. We have these pathways that when we get stressed, we go to overwhelm, shut down, whatever we go to. Uh, and when somebody can help you through that because they see you and they're conversing with you, you can't, I don't think you can bypass that step. And maybe it's your child, maybe it's somebody as innocent as that makes you realize, "Oh, that's not the kind of person I wanted to be." And horses, you can help you too. They're Most of them are not gonna take your, lies for long. Uh,
Mhm.
but really a person that's further along that path, I would say, is critical. Even if you're only working with them for a month, even if you're only working, with them for a year, that you need to have that part.
Yeah. I mean, that's like something that I think we've all been saying for years. It's like whatever you're doing, whether it's a financial means of, creating, more wealth in your life comes, or if it's a sport, or if it's, even like I have a spirituality coach right now. Like I wanted to learn more about spirituality, and I actually somebody, was attracted to me in my life. I didn't even like go out and find one. So, it's always about, get a mentor. Like seriously,
Totally.
that's a great insight. Is there anything that people can do, like an exercise or, like a ritual maybe that they can do with their horses? What can they do? Like if they have a horse right now outside and they're like,
Mhm.
holy crap, this is like really, if like this is changing the whole way that I thought about this. I want to go like apologize to my horse or hang out with them or just connect with them. Like what can they do?
Yeah, actually, just hanging out in the pasture with them, watching what they eat and listening to them chewing and looking at what they're looking. They're so much more present than we are. So many more moments. I wouldn't say they're present 100% of the time, but way, way, way more present than we are. So having them be your teachers, having them be your mentors, just get interested in what they're interested in. Maybe you do take them for a walk, but let them walk you, as long as
Mm,
you keep up.
yeah.
Um, but before, I mean, that's good. But before that, it would be really helpful to understand what presence is. And I could give a explanation of that, but I know we're coming up against a break here. But if we have maybe 2 minutes, I might be able
So
to.
yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect. Yeah.
So presence, the way I'm using the word, I I usually ask people to think of a time in their life where something really big happened, like a birth, like an accident. Unfortunately, a lot of times they're um, traumatic things that happen. But the characteristics that make it true presence is that it's almost like time freezes and you remember, like the sun on your face and where you were, um, the smells, the colors sometimes are more vivid. Like that that's really what the touchstone of what I mean by presence. If people say, "Oh yeah, I know presence, I'm present all the time." That's not it. You can't
Yeah.
be. It's
Yeah.
like the sense of time is distorted and everything becomes kind of hyper real. So what we is important to do when you're on this path is to bring that into the everyday non-traumatic moments. So for a quick example, I'll have my drink here. So have something in front of you and you're going to reach out and between the thought of I'm going to grab this drink and when you actually touch it, try and be present. So I'm present here. Okay, so you go ahead and do it, Andrew. Reach out for something,
Yeah. I'm gonna do it
touch
with
it.
my microphone.
Excellent. Yeah, probably not with a mic, but okay.
You can't. It's not on.
Okay, it's not on. So as you touch it, what's the first thing you notice?
Instantly, there's a sensation of, touch on like a specific part of my hand.
Okay, so yeah, so like it's almost surprising, like, oh, I touched it with this finger and not this finger, or
Yeah.
it's colder, or it's smoother than I thought, or it's rougher, like there's something that
Interesting.
was unexpected, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of presence I'm talking about. Even though you may have touched that thing a million times before, you've never touched it right here, right now, in presence.
Facts.
So so the more you can practice that, that would be like, I call that drink of presence or presence touch. That's one of infinite ways to enter presence. But the more a person would practice that, whether they're with their horse or with their animal or not, then when they're actually with the animal, they're going to be more likely to easily slip into presence and stay into presence in presence for a longer period of time. You can't stay in it. The second the thought comes in of, oh, that's cold, or oh, that's a little closer than I thought, you're out of presence. And then
Hmm.
you just go back into it. So really that rewiring of the brain is coming back into presence, and then you lose it because the thoughts come in. And then you come back, and then you lose it. And then you come back, then you lose it. So practicing that is really the core foundation of finding that peace and harmony and inspiration and creativity moment by moment.
Yeah, that is a tremendous piece of insight. Seriously, thank you for sharing that because that, like, you know, stuff like that, just 2 minutes of knowledge shared, that's like from decades of experience, like condensed into just 2 minutes. And, I recognize that and I really appreciate things like that, and y- that's an incredible way to bring yourself into presence. There's that, and also a lot of times what people associate mindfulness with is different breathing techniques and stuff like that. And one, that I'll share with you actually that I have learned from my coach Pierre, who's actually been on our show before and taught this, is called what he's coined power breaths, where you take a deep breath in and you kind of let the air out in a more restrictive way. So like you have it, letting it out in a controlled manner and kind of like blowing it out like you're blowing it out through a straw.
Mhm.
So, like, and like really getting into the moment and just feeling that sensation, feeling, what's actually going on in that moment. And the more that you do that paired with meditation at the beginning and the end of your day, it really, when you start to meditate here in the beginning of the day and here at the end of the day, and you have these presence exercise, these mindfulness moments, you could call them, in the middle of the day, you start to close the gap of this moment of meditation and this brings it together. And it's like your whole day, you're just in this present moment of meditation. Because, like, really all meditation is just practicing being aware, right? And it's like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I think that, oh man, I know that we're like coming up here, but we're actually past it. But like, in the documentary, you said about, or someone, actually it was one of the guests that you had, she was talking about meditating with her horse, and that was like, that really struck a chord with me because I didn't ever think about that, but you know why not, right?
Yeah, they can really provide a space for that. There have been studies on their heart coherence and their field of influence, and they can scientifically show that when we just come into proximity with a horse, doing nothing, no training, no anything, we're going to feel better. Our hearts are going to become more coherent with our bodies, and we're just going to feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, well, all righty, guys. I definitely foresee us going over a couple more minutes than usual this one because there's just so much value and insight being dropped tonight, which is awesome. And definitely don't want to cut it too short if we're going to be diving deep. But in the meantime, we're going to go to our commercial break, and then we'll see Mr. Brian Davis when we get back. I'll see you soon, guys.
At Grand Rising Financial, we can help brand new or existing businesses secure funding through various funding solutions. Our primary means of funding is 0% interest credit stacking, where we can secure $50,000 to $250,000 at 0% interest for 6 to 24 months. We also offer personal and business term loans as well as 0% interest personal credit stacks. We are so confident in our work that we are a performance-based company, and we only charge on the back end after we have secured your funding. It is no secret that in 2023, the state of the current economy is looking rough, but we are here to help. Whether you are trying to create a better life for you and your family, or simply trying to grow and scale your business, at Grand Rising Financial, we not only help you obtain funding, but we consider ourselves leaders in financial education so that we can equip you with the tools to build a life that you can be proud of. We help entrepreneurs, business owners, and visionaries with a handful of funding and credit building services. For more information and to book a free consultation, please reach out to us at grandrisingfinancial.com or send us a message on Facebook at Grand Rising Financial to learn more and speak with a member of our team. Let Grand Rising Financial help you fund your dreams.
Alrighty, we are back. And wow, what a first half we had. Stormy, it was awesome kind of standing in the sidelines, getting to hear you and Andrew chat back and forth. It was amazing watching the documentary that you have put out, seeing everything that like kind of goes into what we've gone through as a community at MI5. And not only that, but on an individual level, as a lot of our community members are on the same path that we are, which is such a beautiful path. And it definitely is more towards being more present with ourselves and just hearing how this all ties together. Beautiful synchronicities of having you on the show this evening. So I wanted to ask you, how do you see the role of horses within human society? And what do you think that we can learn from these animals? We kind of started to dive into this a little bit right before the break. I truly think there is a lot more innovation, particularly in horses or within your journey, that a lot more we could gain from it as a society as a whole.
Yeah. Really, especially if you own a horse and you're responsible for all the decisions, what they eat, where they live, what sort of training they're going to have or not have, that's where it really becomes confrontational, especially if you have a horse that hasn't already been succumbed to learned helplessness and, yeah, whatever. Like any of the rental horses you get, they're just doing their job because they know if they resist, it's gonna be worse. But it's not a beautiful relationship, and I definitely hope that dies out very quickly, the rental horse and the riding lessons and all these things where we're not honoring the the wisdom of the horse. We're saying, "I have to teach you how to move properly. I have to teach you how to do all this stuff." But do we? Like, is that really true? Um, and when little by little, I let go of it and then uncovered what is a real horse. And it was actually when I was in Russia that I had the big epiphany because I met Alexander Nevzorov's horses. And those horses, man, they they were like nothing I had experienced because they were listened to and they were not, in the past, they had maybe been started traditionally, but then he had spent so many years undoing that, unraveling that to where you walk up to them and they're just like, "Hello, who are you?" You know? Um, and and that's when I was willing to throw everything else out. It's like, "Okay, whatever this guy is doing, I wanna do that because that's what I, in my soul, know horses are." It
Yeah.
goes back to that childhood dream of the horse just comes up to you and wants to do things with you. And, uh, we're brainwashed into thinking the horse wants you to ride them, but it's really not the case. It's just not.
Yeah, it's just the societal constructs that have sort of been put in place,
Yeah.
from centuries long of tradition or practice, if you will.
You can't go to a toy store and buy a horse without a saddle and a bridle, pretty much. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just so programmed. But, once we can get past that and see that they they have this ancient wisdom. I mean, they've been, if we believe evolution, they've been here on this earth, like, thousands and thousands and thousands of years before us, thriving and doing just fine.
Mm.
They really don't need us. It's us that needs them and their wisdom. So, if you're a horse owner, it comes down to, well, what are you gonna do with your horse today? What are
Mm.
you gonna do with your horse today? And, it just feels better. Most people think, well, they have to be in a stall or they have to be in a stall at night, and then they get turned out without any other horses because we don't want them to get hurt. But when you really start listening to them, you can see that that just creates pathological behavior. There's all sorts of what they call stable vices where the horses are weaving and cribbing and pawing and, just getting upset because it's not healthy for them. It would be like us kids trapped in a stall. Um, Even worse because they're bigger and they're meant to be moving
Yeah.
24/7. So, like with my horses, every time I can move them to a bigger pasture, to a more, you know, rich environment, I feel better. I feel like, okay. It's kind of like they're my kids that are now going off to college. So I want to create this beautiful place for them. And I don't need to micromanage them. They're good. If there is a problem, I can address it in the moment. But just the natural living environment is is so critical. They're just such a part of nature. And we are too. We're just cut off from it most of the day, which is where it is great to spend time either with your own horses or I see more and more there being places where people can come and meet horses in this more autonomous way, where we're listening to them and learning from them and with them versus thinking that we have something we need to teach them.
Yeah, that kind of transitions well into my next question, which is like, how do you see, the future of horse training and horsemanship evolving in the years to come?
Yeah, it's already the traditional horsemanship is already dying out. Really, the shows are not well attended. They're getting less and less. People are starting to see through. There's certainly a lot more recreational riders now than there
Yeah.
were before. But even that, like I say, the closer you get to horses, the more you start to see how even that is still not ideal. Well, I shouldn't some people never see it, but, the people that find me have certainly seen that there's something wrong with it. So I think, I might get some flack for this. Ultimately, I think horses just being horses out on the range is the ideal that we should be aiming for. That said, there's millions of horses that are bred each year and that need homes. So, it'd be great if we could stop the breeding industry, stop the racing industry, stop all these things that are
Yeah.
extremely exploitive. Um, but in the meantime, we have to show a better way. It's like we didn't get rid of records and CDs by telling people how horrible they were. We just made something better.
Yeah.
So we
With
don't.
robotics, we could probably make a robotic horse pretty soon here with
Yes, I am so
technology.
waiting for that. I will be the first one because I love riding. I
Yeah.
just don't like hurting horses. I mean, you
Yeah, you
just
get the same motions and everything down,
oh,
artificial intelligence, you could
yep,
plug that right in, we're good to go, right? I
yep,
mean,
yeah, so we gotta have the last ride challenge where we hook up all the sensors
yeah,
and have the last ride on that performance horse, programming it all in, And
Yep.
then we got the robot horse to do it forevermore. I love
Yes.
it.
And you don't have to feed it. You don't have to worry about
Yeah, some
yeah,
oil changes maybe.
exactly. And you're good to go. Cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a thrill, it is a thrill. It's dangerous. Oh my gosh, it's like more dangerous than riding a motorcycle.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, unless you could make a saddle levitate and, just take everything off the horse's head, you're going to be causing harm. It's just the
Yeah.
physiological reality of it. The horses are not designed to carry the weight of a rider. They're just not.
Yeah. No, and it's just been, I think it was such a huge part of society, right? Like travel by horses and horses for farm work, and a huge part of our, building of a nation, and everything that went behind that, that it was so deeply rooted. But with technology and everything going the way that it's going, it doesn't have to be, and it's like
Yeah.
that's kind of like it's like the things that we once required, like, to travel even, from point A to point B before cars, right? It's like,
Right. Yeah, can we leave it behind? Can we just say, "Yeah, that was a period of our past, but do we need to keep perpetuating this?" And of course, there will be those who always do, and I'm not fighting them. I'm
yeah,
just saying, "Hey, look over here. This might feel a lot better." It's gonna feel better for the horse. I know that. And as long as the person takes care of their own path, then they don't need the horse to feel like they accomplished something.
awesome. Well, I definitely think that we're headed in a good direction, as you've brought awareness to the small wins that can be seen. So, Stormy, if you were given $10 million tomorrow in your bank account,
Ooh.
you can do whatever you want with it, what's going to happen with the use of those funds?
Sanctuaries, so many sanctuaries. Yeah, thousands and thousands of acres.
All right.
We just need to provide places where horses are protected, where we can come and learn from them, honor them, listen to them, do the responsible thing, especially for those that we've bred, which is take care of them.
Maybe some horse retreat centers, for
Yeah,
people. Yeah,
exactly.
I'll throw up equity in that in about 6 to 12
Yeah.
months. Let's talk shop. So, but no, yeah, I definitely think that would be really cool. That's awesome. So, oh, we have someone else that says they'll help something. All right. So, so what do you, you know, what impact do you hope to have, on the world through the work that you've done, and where you want to go? I mean, obviously, you've had an amazing voyage thus far, and given so much impact already with the materials you've put out. But yeah, what's coming down the pipe?
Really, it's providing another alternative for specifically horse owners, but also the public at large. Um, so educate. I have many videos educating on the specific scientific harm of riding.
Hmm.
Um, but to create so there's all these types of horsemanship, Western horsemanship and English horsemanship and Pirelli horsemanship and attuned horsemanship, so I created another one. It's called autonomous horsemanship. And it's ironic because it's like the least form of horsemanship possible. It's like, here's how to let the horse be a horse. But I wanted it to stand right as another alternative. I'm going to do this natural horsemanship or, classical horsemanship or autonomous horsemanship. Yeah. So providing another alternative for when people are ready and doubting that their horse is enjoying or being served by what they're doing, they can see, "Oh, here's this group doing this other thing, and this feels right." So that I do have a nonprofit, it's called Many Paths to the Heart, and we started last year, and we have members in our community, and we do monthly calls and
Amazing.
really create this safe space for people to, uh, explore what this type of relationship with a horse looks like.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's truly something special. And I know a lot of our community, as well as myself, will love to check all that out. If you were going to be any part on a bicycle, Stormy, which part would you be and why?
I keep going to the tires. Like, I just want to get it going. It's just where the rubber meets the road. Let's
Where
just
the
do
rubber
it.
meets the road.
Yeah.
Love. Awesome. Cool. I want to kind of end off here just really kind of diving. It's safe to say that horses and you know, the connection with these animals is your passion in life. I want a view into, you know, the legacy that you hope to leave behind, you know, on this journey, this beautiful, beautiful journey that you're on, that you're currently on, and that you're going on. Like, what is the legacy that you would love to be remembered by?
Definitely two parts. The one part is how to listen to horses, like how to listen to them, honor them, let them be themselves. That's a huge part. And then the other part is how to do our own work, how to do our inner work, how to be present and enjoy the ride without riding, and enjoy the ride on the bicycle or the robotic horse.
Enjoy the universal consciousness ride of expression.
Yeah. Yeah, enjoy life. Don't worry about where you're gonna end up at the end, because if you're enjoying this day, this moment, this hour, this minute, you just stack those together, and there you go.
Look at, we have your buddy Sharon, I think, on here as well. Good person that's helped us connect with you in the first place, which we're very grateful for, fellow MI5 member. And I don't really think we have too much on, you know, after that. That's all the questions that I have for you. In order to get involved with Stormy, we have been putting her links up here this evening, so you can definitely follow the story here at stormymay.com. I want to thank you for everything tonight. It's been an awesome, you know, bucket of knowledge and wisdom, a lot of synergistic energies that we've received. And I know a lot of our guests are super engaging, and we want to thank all of them for coming on and checking us out this evening. Let's bring Andrew back in here, because Andrew, I think that, you know, we have a tradition at the end of our shows here, and we want you to be a part of it. Andrew, there's a weather forecast that's coming up, man. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, man. Well, you know, it's been on my mind. Not gonna lie, can't deny it. Can't get away from it. And you know, as the official MI5 weatherman, I think it's just my responsibility to let everybody know about the craziness that is about to take place in the world of MI5. And you know, I'm not going to go too deep into it. However, I will, you know, give you some suggestion on how you can prepare for this craziness that's about to go on, this abundance, this hurricane of abundance that's about to happen. You know, this absolute monsoon of manifestation. And you know, I just have to remind you guys, you know, please, for my sake and yours, remember to grab your umbrellas, because MI5 is taking 2023 by storm, baby. Let's go.
So
All righty, everybody, have a great rest